Hello there, and welcome to the Double Zero Challenge channel. We do just one thing on this channel, and that is to take these two D10 dice and see how long it takes before we can roll a double zero. Now, the hypothetical odds are 1 in 100. However, real world conditions are not necessarily that favourable. So if you'd like to play along, please write down your guess now. All I ask is you don't disclose it in the comments, just let other people watch the video first. There'll be a few more things to explain as we go along, but we may have a lot of rules to do, so let's get cracking. Rule number one. And that is a 1 and a 3. I'll read them all out as we go along. And that's a 2 and a 3. And that is a 5 and a 3. And a 3 and a 1. We have a 2 and a 3. Remember, we're only looking for double zeros. 9 and a 9. And I was just about to explain there, if we meet any other doubles along the way, we'll also take a note of them just to see, just basically for fun, but we should expect to see 9 other doubles rather, on the way to 100. But let's move on. And that's a 7 and a 5. And we have a 3 and a 7, a 5 and a 2, and that's a 0, but it's a 5. Remember, we're looking for double zeros. And it's a 0, but a 4, and that's a 5 and a 6. Oops. That's a 0, but an 8, and that's a 0, but a 6. I feel the dice gods are playing with us today. And that's a 2 and a 6. We have a 6 and a 3, and that's a 4 and a 2. We have a 0, but we also have a 9. And that's a 7 and a 3. Oops. And we have here a 3 and an 8. And that's a double 8, so we sling that on the pile down there. And we have a 5 and a 4. And that's a 0, but it's a 7. And that's a 7 and a 4. And a 6 and a 4. And we have a 6 and a 7. And that's a 6 and a 5. And we have a 6 and a 5. And we have a 4 and a 7. That's a 7 and an 8. And we have a 0, but a 7. And that's a 1 and a 2. We have a 1 and a 6 there. And that's a 0, but a 7. An 8 and a 7. We have a 9 and an 8. And that's a 0, but it's a 5. A 3 and a 6. And that's a 7 and a 9. A 7 and an 8. And it's a 0, but it's a 3. We have a 3 and a 9. And that's a 4 and a 3. A 7 and a 4. And that's a 1 and a 3. As we approach 50, just to tell you that on every 50th roll, we're going to have a big one, we're going to have a double hander, and see how we fare with that. And that will be coming up very shortly because we're only at 45 at the moment. Remember, the hypothetical odds are 1 in 100. So that's a 0 but a 7. And that's a 7 and a 5. A double 3, so we sling that on the pile. That's the third of our doubles. A 0 but a 9. And the double hander is a 5 and an 8. So we carry on for 100 rolls. That's a 1 and a 3. And that is a 6 and a 9. That's a double 4. Also the fourth double. And a 7 and a 5. A 6 and a 2. And we have a 4 and an 8. And that's a 1 and a 5. And a 3 and a 1. We have a 3 and a 7. And that's a 0, but it's a 2. So we carry on. A 2 and a 3. And that is a 5 and a 9. And a 6 and a 4. That's a 4 and a 3. And that's a 3 and a 1. A 3 and a 5. We have a 0, but a 6. We have a 0, but an 8. We have a 7 and a 6. And that's a 9 and a 4. A 0, but it's a 2. That's a 9 and a 3. And that's a 4 and a 2. And that is a double 0. That is exactly what we're looking for. So at 60, 74 rolls, and we also have 4 doubles. That is the result. So we've beaten the odds of 1 in 100, and we expected to see more doubles on the way. But as always, hypothetical odds do not match real world conditions, as any bingo player knows, as any lottery player knows. So thank you very much for watching. You take care and roll on next time.